It is Victory Monday in San Diego, and we are live at Social Tap San Diego for Bolts on Tap. Welcome, everybody. I'm Ben Higgins, along with John Gennaro. Good to have you to talk Chargers for the next 30 minutes or so after what could be a season-saving, season-defining victory over the Atlanta Falcons yesterday, 33-30 in overtime. Good to have you with us. Comment along on Facebook. Send us tweets at Ben Higgins SD, at John M. Gennaro. We'll get to your questions and comments as we go on. But, John, let's just start with the magnitude of that victory yesterday. When Denzel Perryman intercepted the football.
What a huge play that was.
Down 27-30 with about, 4 minutes left on the clock. I tweeted out, I hate to make too big of a deal about this, but really the entire season is going to be defined in the next couple of minutes. If they go on and somehow win this ball game, they're a different team. We look at the Chargers a different way than we did for the first 5 weeks of the season. And if they lose this game, you pretty much just suck all the air out of that comeback, out of that season. A 2-5 record, I don't know how they come back from that. So good for the Chargers because they pulled it off in really impressive fashion.
I think you are making slightly too much
out of
this. Because I don't think it was a season-saving victory. I think the season-saving victory was last week in Denver against the Denver Broncos. This was a game that I think most Charger fans going into it said, Chargers probably aren't going to win, and that's okay because the rest of the schedule is so easy. If the only loss they have for the next couple months is to the Falcons in Atlanta, I mean, that's still a good team. It's hard to beat the Falcons in Atlanta, especially when you're going from the West Coast to the East Coast. It helped that it was a late game. But I think season-defining victory is a better way to put it because, really, for me, this was a game I thought the Chargers could win, but if they lost, I wasn't going to let any of the air out of my balloon.
Well, had the Chargers just lost the game, falling 17 points down in the second quarter, failing to rally, maybe we could have argued that, hey, this was perhaps the toughest remaining game on the schedule.
Yeah.
You can't expect them to win it. But once they gave themselves another shot in the fourth quarter and were in a close game, you were just going to reinforce every notion that we have been led to believe about this Chargers team, that they can't get it done in a close game in the fourth quarter. That's why I'm not sure they would have been able to bounce back from that. But that's why I also feel that this victory is somehow more meaningful than the other two. Even the Denver Broncos victory last week, because they had to play their best football in the fourth quarter and overtime, and they quite frankly did. I don't think the Chargers have played a better stretch of football in their 7 games than we saw in the fourth quarter and overtime yesterday. They were virtually flawless after the Falcons kicked a field goal early in the fourth quarter to retake a 10-point lead. The Chargers were as close to perfection for a football team on the road against a good opponent as I think you can ask for.
Well, and that's the funny thing is it wasn't perfection because no one really plays perfect.
No, of course.
The Chargers appeared to play perfect when they went against the Jacksonville Jaguars, but a big reason for that is the Jaguars are just a very bad football team. The Chargers could do no wrong because the Jaguars were busy beating them to it. This was a pretty standard game. And really, the Chargers are 4-3, but when they were 1-4, there was a lot of people saying they should be 4-1. They should be 5-0. This is one of the better teams in the NFL. They just can't get it done at the end of the game. They can't win close games. And really, the difference has been Joey Bosa. Joey Bosa, since joining this team, really helped them in that Raiders game, and they missed him at the end of the game when they were trying to maintain the lead, but were wary to put him in for more than 25 snaps or whatever he was in for. But the last 2 games with him playing most of the game, you see these situations that we saw early in the season where the defense falls apart, and now they stand on their head. 3rd and 1, they stop them. 4th one, they stop them. I mean, really, the defense was without much in the secondary, taking advantage of every opportunity put in front of them, and Joey Bosa was a huge reason for that.
And it's amazing they're doing this without their best defensive player, or at least who was their best defensive player before he got hurt, in Jason Verrett. Joey Bosa, whether you thought he was going to be a good draft pick, a bad draft pick, I don't think anyone anticipated him being able to contribute as forcefully and quickly as he has. And I saw some amazing stats this morning. The rest of the league is quickly picking up on how good Joey Bosa is. This is not simply, fanboy Chargers myopia. Oh, wow, we love our first-round draft pick. He's amazing. No, he really has been amazing. The Pro Football Focus analysts rate him as an 86 out of 100 through his first 3 games, which I think is like the second highest for a defensive lineman in the league.
Behind J.J. Watt only.
Yeah, J.J. Watt territory, 4 sacks in 2 games. The first player with multiple sacks games in his first 3 in however many years it's been. 20 quarterback pressures in 3 games, which is already top 25 in the NFL. And he's only played 3 games when other guys have played full 7-game complements.
I mean, it's easy to put into perspective for Charger fans because we've seen this kind of dominance before. This is Sean Merriman level dominance. And when Sean Merriman was, before he injured his knee and he was healthy and he was at his peak, Sean Merriman changed games. Sean Merriman made the defense one of the best defense in the league almost by himself. It almost didn't matter who was playing behind him. He just made the front 7 so strong by himself, and that's exactly what we're seeing from Joey Bosa. Granted, through 2.5 games, but if he can continue this, number one, he's going to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. Number 2, he's going to be thought of as one of the premier players in the NFL each and every year.
All right, Ivan chiming in on Facebook. Awesome win. I was at work watching the game while smoking a cigar. I don't know where Ivan works, but sounds good. The win restored my faith in this team. The defense stepped up. Bosa is a beast. It was a faith-restoring kind of victory.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the point I was making. And you can kind of get the sense in the Chargers locker room after the game. The Chargers had only won 1 road game since 2014, last year in Jacksonville. So they had gone, a long time before they had a winning locker room and a winning plane flight home. And the Chargers posted a little video of what happened in the locker room after the game. I don't know if you had a chance to see it. I'll show it to you on 10 News, probably at 5 o'clock this afternoon. But Phillip Rivers gets everyone in a big circle. They put their hands in and they start a chant, "Sweats on the plane."
Sweats on the plane.
Because if you win, the coaching, they don't make you put on the coat and tie.
Yeah.
You can just be comfortable and casual. For a cross-country flight, that's actually, that's a pretty nice trick. And then Mike McCoy comes on in the last second and adds in, how about this? I'll see you Wednesday, meaning Victory Monday. Players get the day off.
Yeah.
Get a nice little 2-day weekend that they earned as well. But it's amazing. You've got a group of guys who are playing for, millions of dollars in front of tens of thousands of people on national television. The NFL super, super serious. Yet it's the little tiny things that seem to make them so happy. We get to wear sweats on the airplane on the way home. They're fired up about that.
I don't want to make a big deal about that, but that's the type of goofy little thing that gets in the consciousness. I think you said before we started, it's actually trending on Twitter.
Sweats on the plane.
So Charger fans are really enjoying it. That's the type of thing that just carries a team throughout a season, makes them smile, makes them laugh, kind of lightens the mood a little bit. I guarantee you every road game for the rest of the season, they're going to be saying on their way out there, during the game, they're going to be saying sweats on the plane and kind of laughing about it.
All right, Roberto is going a different direction, and I want to bring this up as well. He writes in, "Don't get too excited, Chargers fans. Atlanta's coach gave the game away by going on 4th and 1 at the Chargers' 45-yard line."
100% disagree.
Okay, it's fine you can disagree, but you can still throw a little cold water here because the Chargers are 3-4, which is a heck of a lot better than 1-4, but they're still in last place by a game and a half in the AFC West.
Also worth noting that Matt Bryant missed that game-winning field goal by this much.
Yes. There's no way to make the playoffs in the NFL if you finish in last place.
Right.
Even if you go 11-5, if you're in last place,
the 2 teams above you will go to the wild card, and the team above that will win the division.
There's no chance to make the playoffs. So they absolutely have to catch one of the teams ahead of them just for a shot at going to the postseason. And like it or not, the AFC West is looking like one of the top divisions in football this year. Raiders won yesterday. Chiefs won yesterday. Both of them made it look fairly easy. They weren't playing good teams, the Jags and the Saints, but they're essentially playing the same schedule as the Chargers. Yes, the Chargers have the last place schedule. They have a couple of easier games, but essentially they're all playing the same schedule, and the Chargers have dug this hole. So no matter what the Chargers do in the second half, it's going to be tough for them to get back in this race because they have to catch at least 1, possibly 2, if not all of the teams in their division.
I don't think they have to play all of the same teams because the Chargers finished in last place last year.
They do.
So
there's 2 different games. You play 14 common games, and then there's 2 games that are different. The Chargers get the Dolphins, and they get the Browns.
Yeah.
As opposed to, the Broncos have to play the Patriots because they won. They get tougher competition in 2 games, but those are the two games that you got to make up. Otherwise, you're playing the same schedule as everyone else.
Well, and the good news, and I was trying to get this point across earlier, and I'll make it again, is through 5 games, most people, analysts, players, coaches all agreed that the Chargers were pretty close to being a good team. And what has pushed them over the edge has been Joey Bosa. It's not like nothing has happened. It's not like the competition has gone down. The competition's gotten better. But the Chargers have gone from almost good to better than good. And throughout the rest of their, luckily they figured this out, because throughout the rest of their schedule, they get the Broncos one more time, they get the Raiders one more time, they get the Chiefs one more time. So they can knock each one of those teams down at least once. And, that doesn't put them atop the division, but maybe the game against the Browns, maybe a game against the Dolphins gives them enough of an advantage that going forward they can make a run.
All right, let's say the Chargers were starting from scratch at this point. Chris Garcia writes in, I say right now the Chargers are the best team in the AFC West. Yay or nay? Throw out the records right now. Just compare head-to-head, Chargers-Broncos, Chargers-Raiders, Chargers-Chiefs, remembering that the Chargers have gone 1-2 against those 3 teams so far this season.
I'd argue that right now the Chargers are the second best team in the AFC West.
Behind the Raiders?
Behind the Raiders.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's going to hold true the rest of the season. I mean, the Raiders are a very young team. The Raiders have kind of taken advantage of some opportunities, going for 2, going for it on 4th down at the end of games. Not something they're going to do throughout the entire season. So it's very possible that the Chargers can catch up to the Raiders. But right now, the Raiders are the only team that I think are playing better football than the San Diego Chargers.
Well, the Chargers clearly looked like they can play better than the Broncos last week.
Yep.
Now, coming up this Sunday in Denver might be a different story. Mile High, Sports Authority, whatever they're calling it nowadays. I have no idea. Does it have a name?
I just still call it Mile High.
Yeah, it's one of the toughest places to play. And, the Chargers are, getting a break in that the Broncos have to play tonight, Monday Night Football, by the way.
So short
Burger
week.
and beer special
Yeah.
at Social Tap SD, $10 for Monday Night Football each week. Come on, check it out. Cheer on the Houston Texans tonight against those Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
But, it's still going to be a tough test to go into Denver and get that victory. I now have full faith that the Chargers have an opportunity to do so, the way they're playing right now. But, the Chargers and the Raiders, they had a chance to win that game in Oakland, so you can say they're pretty evenly matched with the Raiders.
Right.
And they dominated the Chiefs until falling apart at the end, but that was at Arrowhead as well. So I think you can make a logical case that the Chargers right now are at least tied for being the best team in the AFC West.
I'll put it this way. If the Chargers, right now they're 1-2 against the AFC West. If the Chargers can find a way to finish this season 4-2 against the AFC West, they're going to be probably heading to the playoffs, because that's going to be a very good indicator of how well they're playing for the rest of this season.
All right. Want to thank Social Tap SD. We mentioned the beer and burger special. Just had their grand opening last Friday of the new location by San Diego State off El Cajon Boulevard on Art Street. If you didn't have a chance to check it out, you can go there now any day this week and visit their new location. I just love coming here for lunch.
The food is amazing.
It really is terrific. We've had so much fun this season. It's a great spot. You can look at Petco Park and the park of the park on the back patio. You got TVs all over the place in here. We got a good Monday lunch crowd on hand as well. And you can come visit us any Monday from 12:30 to 1. We're always here on Bolts on Tap. We got a good debate going on Facebook. We're going to get some of the Twitter questions in just a second. They want to know whether you look more like George Costanza or Norm from Cheers.
I'm probably going to go Costanza.
Okay.
I don't remember Norm being bald.
I don't think so. He had hair. I mean, he had the beard, but
I'm Costanza with a beard.
Yeah, or you're Norm
with no hair.
With no hair on the top of the head.
And Norm didn't have a beard either, did he?
No, Norm didn't have a beard.
I look like some frumpy TV character that you know of. That much we know.
All right. Some Twitter questions here at Ben Higgins SD. SD IPA Heaven wants to know why the Chargers don't run more outside toss sweep that work for 7 yards. He says it seems like it's better than the up the middle play. You have an answer for that one.
I do have an answer for it. It's also a similar answer as to why the Chargers run so many draw plays. The answer is that their offensive line is very big. Very big. DJ Fluker is probably the largest guard in the league. King Dunlap is probably the largest tackle in the league, or up there. Orlando Franklin is a very large guard, and Joe Barksdale is large, maybe above average himself. These offensive linemen don't move well. They don't move side to side well. They don't move forward well. What they do is they hold their ground. And so when you're running outside, you're forcing the blockers to try and move at the same speed as a running back. And the times that I've seen it this season, I think they've run outside plays probably about 10 times in 6 or 7 games. And what I've seen is most of the time Melvin Gordon's just running around them and then getting tackled by guys that should be blocked. So they don't run outside that much because their offensive line isn't built for that. Their offensive line is really built for protecting Phillip Rivers, and the run game is secondary.
As it probably should be,
yeah,
given that Phillip Rivers is your franchise player.
And he's the entire offense.
Yeah.
As long as Phillip Rivers is there on the field and his arm is attached to his body, the Chargers are going to be one of the top 5 offenses in the league like they are right now.
I saw some speculation out there today that Phillip Rivers, if the Chargers do continue on this roll and somehow make the playoffs, that Phillip Rivers should be the MVP of the National Football League. That's a long way off.
I said it last week.
Did you?
When I wore the jersey, and I said if the Chargers find a way to get into the playoffs, Phillip Rivers should be the MVP. There's no question.
I mean, people are all of a sudden excited about the Chargers on a national level. I think Jason Whitlock tweeted out yesterday, hey, are the Chargers the second best team in the AFC all of a sudden? You know, I mean, you go into Atlanta, you win a game like that, and people start asking questions like, why didn't we notice this team before?
Well, number one, it's hard to beat Atlanta in Atlanta. It's even harder to do it when you're a team from the West Coast flying cross country to get there. But the other thing is people were so eager to jump on board here because they love Hunter Henry. Now they love Joey Bosa. By and large, NFL analysts and reporters love Phillip Rivers. And it's exciting to see this, sort of gritty team with all of their injuries and all of their bad luck coming from where they came, where Mike McCoy was literally about to get fired, to they're a dangerous team that nobody wants to play right now.
Vernon writes in on Facebook, the Chargers are the most dangerous 3-4 team in the NFL. They could be 7-0 or 1-6. You really can't argue with either of those. It's true. Probably 2-5. It would have been really hard to blow that Broncos game, although the Hail Mary comes through and two-point conversion. I guess they could have lost it.
Why I'm so much happier this week than I was last week, because last week I was saying, it's a good win against the Broncos, but they didn't have a quarterback. But Matt Ryan played well. Julio Jones played well. The Atlanta Falcons' running game was good until Tevin Coleman went out with an injury. The Chargers beat a good team here. I would say this is the first time all season the Chargers not only won, not only their first road win, not only their first real close win, they beat a good team, a really good team.
So do we have to admit that both of us, you and I, were wrong when we said that the injuries that the Chargers sustained over the first few weeks of the season, losing Danny Woodhead, losing Keenan Allen, losing Jason Verrett, combined with what we thought at the time was a crippling lack of depth, was going to sink the season?
I'm going to say the same thing that I've been saying for years. Pass rush fixes everything. Pass rush fixes everything. Neither one of us was smart enough to know how good Joey Bosa was going to be once he got in the lineup, but Joey Bosa is affecting their pass rush to the point that even though Matt Ryan's having a good game, Julio Jones having a good game, they can't really string together 3, 4, 5 good plays in a row without Joey Bosa or Brandon Mebane or Corey Liuget or someone else getting open in a lane and hitting Matt Ryan in the mouth. So I think we were right, except we didn't see Joey Bosa coming.
To be fair, the Chargers didn't see it coming either. Because if they had thought he would be this good this fast, they probably wouldn't have had a big of a problem with offset language.
I'm not sure about that.
Really?
I mean, so someone brought up this point.
Well, they obviously liked him. They drafted him, so they loved him.
Yesterday on the Mighty 1090 postgame show, I heard Burt Grossman say the same thing to Kevin Acee, who was in Atlanta and calling him by phone. And Kevin Acee said when the Chargers were dealing with that rookie deal, they were not thinking of it as Joey Bosa. They were just thinking of it as rookie contract. They weren't thinking of the player, but he said they knew how good he was. They just didn't. They had put their name in cement there that they weren't going to let it go.
I got another running back question here, and I think this is a good one. This one's from a Lights 83 for you, John. Why does John hate Melvin Gordon so much? It's not Meg's fault he was drafted the way he was. I'm happy he's got 10 touchdowns, baby. Now, that's true. He was not, it wasn't, he didn't ask to be traded up for in the draft. So you can't put that on him. Similarly, I think Chargers fans held it against Eric Weddle for years. that the Chargers traded up in the second round to get him.
And Jacob Hester.
And always expected more. And Eric Weddle was, a better player than Jacob Hester in the long run. But I don't think he ever kind of got the appreciation, at least early in his career, that he deserved because he was traded up for. Same thing with Melvin Gordon. But is that the front office made a mistake by trading up for Melvin Gordon, or is there something still lacking fundamentally in Melvin Gordon's game?
I mean, it's a little bit of both. And really why people think I hate Melvin Gordon even this year is they're looking at it going, look, he's got 8 touchdowns. He's tied, I believe, for the lead amongst rushing touchdowns this year. And they're going, there it is. He's fixed. He's not the really bad rookie that we saw last year that everyone was going, oh, is he a bust? Is he a bust? And I'm not here saying he's a bust. I'm not here saying he's bad. I'm definitely not here saying that I hate him. But I'm saying not everything is so rosy just because he's got 8 touchdowns. He's still only averaging 3.3 yards per carry. I mean, you look at all the other guys that are getting as many rushing attempts as him this year. David Johnson, 4.7 yards per carry. DeMarco Murray, 4.6. Ezekiel Elliott, 5.1. Lamar Miller, 4.2. Frank Gore, 4.2. LaShawn McCoy, 5.3. He's got a long way to go before he can be considered, an elite running back. And really, when you trade up for a guy and you take him with such a high draft pick, you're saying he's going to be an elite running back. And I'm not saying he's as bad as I thought he was last year. I'm just saying he's not as good as the Chargers obviously thought he was when they picked him because he's not at that level yet. And just because they're giving him all of the goal line touches this year and not splitting it out with Danny Woodhead and Brandon Oliver and Derek Watt or anybody else doesn't mean that he's magically great.
That fourth quarter run, though, where he bounced off the back of the offensive line and pulled out the first down, is going to go down, I think, as one of the pivotal moments of the season because I hate to would have wondered what would have happened if the Chargers were facing a fourth down, an extremely long field goal situation. Even if they had made it, they would have left time on the clock. But because Melvin Gordon converted that first down, Mike McCoy didn't have to make a decision that could have ended up on Mike's mistakes. And you know what? You beat the Falcons on the road in overtime 33-30. I leave the Mike's mistakes board in the car today. So congratulations to Mike for his first at least mistake-free week.
Hey, what? It was not mistake-free.
No? You got a Mike's mistake for us?
There's a mistake in there. There was a very obvious mistake in there. Mike McCoy probably should have lost the game on this mistake. So the Chargers defense stops the Falcons in overtime. The offense is cruising down the field, and all of a sudden, Phillip Rivers on 1st and 10 kneels. What the hell is he doing? Well, he's setting up a 42-yard field goal. A 42-yard field. Mike McCoy assumed the game was over because Josh Lambo had an opportunity to kick a 42-yard field goal. That's the thing that a good kicker hits 75, 80% of the time. The offense was cruising down the field. Why not throw a couple more 4-yard passes to Antonio Gates or crossing routes to Tyrell Williams or let Melvin Gordon run it some more? There was no reason, 1st and 10 with 9 minutes left in overtime, to have Phillip Rivers kneel down on 1st down to set up a 42-yard field goal. I am shocked. No questioning Josh Lambo here, but karma says that you make a decision that's stupid, and usually the football gods will make you pay by making Josh Lambo miss that field goal. If Josh Lambo misses that field goal, this entire show is why the hell did they rest on a 42-yard field goal to win this game in overtime? There's no reason.
Well, it shows you that Mike McCoy doesn't study his Chargers history that closely because it was in 2004 when the Chargers were in the playoffs against the New York Jets in overtime. And Marty Schottenheimer got inside, the 40-yard line and decided that's 35-yard line, 30-yard line, decided that's close enough for Nate Kading.
That's not close enough.
He ran LT into the line a couple of times and brought out Kading for a 47-yard kick in the playoffs.
At least he ran Tomlinson up the line a couple times. Even if Mike McCoy, instead of having Rivers kneel on 1st down, let Melvin Gordon run it twice, then had Rivers kneel, or then kicked it on 3rd down or whatever, that would have been significantly better than what they ended up doing. By the way, we just had a bunch of people comment on our Facebook Live video to point out that Danny Woodhead, still the 2nd leading rusher on the San Diego Chargers, been on injured reserve for over a month now.
Well, I did like the couple of carries we saw from Kenneth Farrow in yesterday's game.
Apparently
the Chargers don't really have a legitimate backup running back. Dexter McCluster is not a guy you're going to be handing off to, more than once a game. So it's going to be Melvin Gordon. No one's going to be catching Danny Woodhead.
Well, Kenneth Farrow's averaging 4 yards per carry, so he's better than Melvin Gordon in a very small sample size.
All right, we'll get to our 3 questions here at the end, but the first one kind of tells you that had the Chargers continued to press to get a little bit closer, you never know. Maybe it wouldn't have been perfect to kick a 28-yard field goal, because we saw 2 of those last night.
We did.
In the Sunday night game. These are Ferris's questions here about the NFL. Larry Fitzgerald described last night's Seahawk-Cardinal blank fest as the craziest game he's ever played in. What do you call it? And if you were commissioner, how would you get rid of ties forever?
I wouldn't. Ties are hilarious. And ties also make for some really interesting conversations come playoff time. Because you think about, if we had just made that, 26-yard field goal, we would be in the playoffs now, but instead we're sitting on the outside looking in. I love ties. I love anything that is completely and totally unexpected. And even though that game last night on Sunday Night Football was really ugly, it was also very unexpected. And that's kind of what I love about sports.
I think ties in football are very different than ties in soccer, which happen all the time. I mean, 20, 30% of your soccer games are going to end in ties. And to me, that's a bit of a problem. You get like every 3 or 4 years a football game that ends in a tie. And I thought that was by far the most appropriate outcome.
For that game,
for last
sure.
night's game.
Yeah, complete ineptitude by both teams should end in a tie. No one deserved to win that game.
The stunned look on Pete Carroll's face, though, when Hauschka missed the last field goal was absolutely priceless. I was entertained by the game. I know everyone's complaining about it, but I couldn't look away.
And I appreciate it because the camera was zoomed in on the Cardinals kicker's face, and he was just so depressed knowing that he had let down his team and he was going to be a GOAT all week long. And the look of relief on his face when Hauschka missed that final kick was just wonderful. That was the feel-good story for me for that game.
All right, question number 2. Matt Stafford, who is somehow only 28, even though he's been in the NFL for 300 years, has been playing out of his mind, leading the Lions to 3 straight fourth-quarter comeback wins. I'll ask you the same thing I asked last week about Adrian Peterson and the Vikings. Did losing Calvin Johnson take a load off the Lions and in the process free Stafford to be a more effective QB?
You all right?
Excuse me, yeah.
I don't know whether or not Matt Stafford is more effective this year. They did replace Calvin Johnson with the guy from Cincinnati whose name I'm not going to remember.
Mohamed Sanu, right?
No, Sanu went to a different he went to a different team. Doesn't matter. I think that's part of it. I think being able to spread the ball around and not being so focused on Calvin Johnson probably helps. But the team as a whole has gotten better. They've added some good tight ends. The defense is playing better. This isn't all about Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford doesn't win and lose games on his own. This has been a team effort from the Detroit Lions.
I'll admit, I haven't really watched much Lions football this season.
If they had Calvin Johnson on the team this year, they'd win even more games.
I just know what's coming, though. I mean, they're the Lions, right?
They're not going to do anything this year.
There's going to be a crash. They have a little nice run.
Jim Caldwell, not the most confidence-inspiring coach ever.
All right, question number 3. Should Steve Bartman throw the first pitch at Wrigley in Game 3 of the World Series? And if the Cubs win it all, who takes the mantle as the saddest franchise in American sports? The mighty Bengals of Cincinnati. That's Ferris's team, of course.
The Bengals take it?
I don't think so.
Weren't they in the Super Bowl in the 80s?
I think maybe the Clippers still.
Clippers, yeah.
I mean,
the Clippers haven't gotten anywhere.
They've been better lately. They've been a playoff team year in and year out, so they're trying to shed that label, but they were so bad for so long. It's hard to just erase it without a championship.
Yeah, and they have the whole big brother, little brother thing going on where even when they're good during the regular season, no one takes them seriously, no one goes to their games or wears their gear. I'm going to go with the Clippers. I think Ferris is a little too focused on Cincinnati there.
Cincinnati's not that bad. I mean, they go to the playoffs every year, too. They're actually kind of similar in that way, but Cincinnati actually has a bit of history of success in the past, whereas the Clippers do not.
Yeah, there's nothing there.
Yeah.
I do think Steve Bartman should throw out the first pitch of Game 3 and let Chicago love him again and maybe sort of mend that open wound that's been sitting there for 13 years that's kind of destroyed his life.
I wouldn't show up if I was him. I don't need that.
If you were the Cubs,
love him again. They never loved Steve Bartman before. It's not like he was a no one before. He's coming back. The Cubs want to distance themselves from GOATs and Steve Bartman and anything else as far as they possibly can. they don't need any reminders of what's happened in the past. So
I don't think
I disagree.
I don't think the GOAT is what has led them to not win a World Series since 1908.
All right, back to football. Wrap it up here.
Okay.
The Denver Broncos next week. We saw the Chargers beat them last week. Trevor Siemian, should be a little healthier after returning.
We'll see.
Home.
We'll see how he plays against Houston tonight. That's going to be interesting.
Definitely going to be scouting that one. But the Bosa factor, love getting a second chance at the same team.
Yeah.
Got to see how you make adjustments in the NFL your first time through. And, if the Chargers were 4-4 at the midway point in the season, that would be some story through 8 games. The roller coaster that we've ridden this year following the San Diego Chargers.
I have 4 words for you that are going to tell you exactly why the Chargers are going to beat the Denver Broncos on Sunday. Do you know what those 4 words are, Ben Higgins?
No.
Sweats on the plane.
Sweats on the plane. Sweats on the plane.
They're going to win.
All right.
They're going to win.
Thanks to Social Tap San Diego for hosting us. Come on out for Monday Night Football tonight. It's the Texans and the Broncos Burger and Beer Special. For John Gennaro, I'm Ben Higgins. This has been Bolts on Tap from 10 News. We'll see you next week again, Monday, right here at 12:30 to talk some Chargers football.